Okay, welcome to Kimbo's Crafts, or welcome back to Kimbo's Crafts. Today I want to share with you my most recent scrapbook that I've created. It is from a trip I took with my sister to Italy. It's my largest scrapbook actually to date. I mean, look at this thing. I Mostly because we took so many photos. I'm not gonna lie. Some of my older scrapbooks are very thin, really light on photos because back in the day, people might remember, it wasn't so easy to get them mass a large amount. You had to pay. I mean, my first trip we definitely had. Well, my first big trip we had digital, but I didn't have the large memory cards and those sorts of things to hold plenty of photos, and I had a separate camera instead of having a nice phone. So now that I have a phone and travel with that, I take so many photos. And then plus my sister is very into taking architectural, beautiful photos with her fancy camera. So between the two of us, I think we had about 1,000 pictures. So that's one reason why it's so big. But I wanted to share it with you today because this is where I'm at with my scrapbooking skills and I guess personality. Everybody has a different scrapbooking personality. I would say my personality is very maximalist. You'll see when we get into it that I'll point it out. I use all the ephemera I can collect. I use lots and lots of stickers. I like to keep it very busy, and I also include my journaling notes, which I'll show you as we go along. One thing that has been consistent throughout the way I've been scrapbooking is that I do it day by day. So each day has its own page or pages before I continue. There's multiple ways to do it. If you have multiple places, locations in your trips, you can do it by that. So for Italy, we actually went to several different cities. I could have just had sections and cities, but because I approach it in a journaling way, I like to have each day separated, and that can make it very difficult. Later on, I'll probably do a video showing you how I keep all of those things straight. But right now, I just wanted to do a flip through, go over some little tricks that I use, and just how I use ephemera. Maybe it can inspire somebody. So it's quite large. It is a 12 by 12. So the pages are large. I do like 12 by 12, especially when I do full-size photographs, 4 by 6 photographs, and plenty of them. It gives you lots of space. So on all of my international trips, I do my first page is us in the airport. This is a special time because me and my sister live separately, so we always meet up at an airport. Now that we do trips, we've been traveling together for years and years and years. So many flights. I've been on flights with her since we were little. So it's a beautiful thing for me to record when we meet up in our first flights. We went with Aer Lingus, and for whatever reason, the flight we took out of Chicago, they required paper boarding passes. So I at least had paper boarding passes for using that, and that is really nice to put in scrapbooks. I have it in my old ones. It's not very common anymore because of well, digital passes being more common. And you'll see I have lots of stickers, and I have a little note saying when, and little notes about the experience we had at the airport. So this is when we arrived in Italy. We started in Venice. I've got our hotel paperwork, the Wi-Fi paperwork. Maybe they don't want me to share that. And then our ticket stubs, our receipts. I like to put them mostly in the background, and sometimes I'll tuck them up front. Something to keep in mind when you're using receipts is that they are going to fade with years. I have other scrapbooks, older ones that I'll show later in other videos, and you'll see them fading. I like to use the originals. I'll put them in the back so that they're not major portions of the picture of the what's it called? The way the collage, I guess. So it's not very noticeable when they fade, but they will fade. If that's the issue for you, you can always copy, print them on paper, and then cut them, put them in. I just use the originals because I like to have that original experience. So one thing I also like to do in my scrapbook, so a lot of times when you go to these places, they give you maps. The hotels will give you maps so you can get around easily. I hold on to them, and then I will glue them onto pages and use them as my backgrounds. So this is one that we got from our hotel. It's always cut to fit. So I took this scrapbook, the 12 by 12 pages came with these black background pages. So I just take those out. I find the section of the picture of the map I like most. I glue that down, usually with just some liquid glue, one of the spongy tips. I'll probably make a scrapbook with you guys on a video and show you in action. And then I glue that down. And so this is the map we actually had. It didn't get too much use, so it turned out to have it was in good shape when we finished. And then whenever I put down pictures, I usually like to have at least one that's kind of straight up and down, and then I like to stagger pictures just to give more interest and more of a casual feel to my book. You'll notice in other scrapbooks, people often put frames and things. They do really clean layouts. And so I've done that in the past. I'll show some older spreads that I've used. I've used kits and things. It's just something that it bogs me down when I'm working on my actual scrapbook. So I prefer to just put in the pictures, stagger them, layer them, and then I will use stickers to kind of help hold down the corners and also break up between the pictures. So these are 3 different pictures. I'll stagger them in height so it's very clear they're separate, and then just lay down the stickers. We were having lots of fun with trying to get photos of this window. This is us at the Doge's Palace in Venice on our first day. And so the museum tickets, I like to keep museum tickets. My sister, very well aware that I do these scrapbooks and she doesn't, will give me her museum tickets so I can usually get both sides of the tickets on my spreads. And then this is a sticker that we were wearing, not here in this time, but when you went to a different portion of our tour, they gave you this so that you could walk immediately into another museum because they were connected and it was part of the tickets. So that was stuck on, I think I put it on my bag actually, so that they could identify that we had paid. And so I just stuck that out, stuck it in one of my pocket notebooks, and I was able to peel it out and glue it down and use it like a sticker. So I'll keep those sorts of things. Here is at the Doge's Palace, they have their ballot box, I think that's what it was, in the wall. So I took a series of photos, and now they printed large, but I cut them down to similar sizes so I could stagger them, what it was like from the inside looking out. And so I like that. Often I will print just full 4x6 photos and cut them down if needed. But most of the time I like to keep them large because you can see better. So here we are at St. Mark's Cathedral. Here's the tickets. We have extra tickets here because we paid for not only just going in, but also going up to the top. And so the tickets looked the same with different backgrounds. So I just used mostly the backgrounds and just the ticket, the other side is here. I use different kinds of tags for writing down my notes. Some are stickers, some are, I don't think I have one here. Yeah, some are just cards. There's also, in the time I've been scrapbooking, I collect and I don't ever toss anything out. So if I don't finish a sticker book or the cards that come with a kit, I will put them aside and then bring them back out. So I have things that don't necessarily match, but that's more my style when I do scrapbooks. If you can notice here, is it's pretty random. Here we are wandering around Venice after our museum tours and things. We tried to take a picture with every gelato. We had gelato every day. Tried to take a picture with all the gelatos, and then I wanted to get them in each of my spreads. So that was something that was important. Another important thing for how I do my scrapbooks is that I take pictures that are not so posed. I want to get pictures in there that show the reality of the travel. In my older books, because I think we had that restriction on how many pictures you could take, I didn't take so many silly photos, but nowadays I like to take way more candid photos because the important things I want to remember was the experience, not necessarily the things you can see in a book. So while my sister takes a lot of architectural photos and I took that photo, actually, I'm very proud of that. That's one of my best compositions on a photo there, but most of the time they're pretty random. But she takes the more artsy photos, I suppose is the best way to put it, because that's how she likes to commemorate it. But for me, I like to commemorate kind of the experience of walking. Here I am exhausted from carrying my backpack, and here's all the gear I carried on myself. Here we are checking into our hotel in Florence. Like I was saying with our experiences, a lot of time when we travel, fun travel tip, find a grocery store and get yourself some groceries. If you have a way to hold them in your room, it helps cut down on cost. And when you're walking around as much as we do, it's really nice to have stuff to grab and eat. So here we are having some grocery. And also that's part of traveling for me. I love to see all parts of what it's like to be in Italy, not just eating out, but also what people have in the grocery store. That's actually one of the fun things. So here's so in the hotel that we stayed at, or the bed and breakfast we stayed at in Florence, they gave us lots of maps, and Florence had a lot of respect Florence and don't litter. So I saved all of them and I put them in all my compositions. The map had a lot of foldouts with little paragraphs about certain places to see. And since we saw a lot of them, I made sure to cut out as many as I could, as well as salvage the map for one of my compositions. And so you'll see these throughout. We're in the Palazzo Vecchio, so, well, I think that's it. The Piazza Signora we're inside. So I stuck them where they go, and it kind of does more of the writing for me. And so I can just focus on again writing what we experienced. And if somebody were to look through this, like my dad or somebody, they could read what we saw and what its historical significance is. Here we are at Santa Croce. That was a really beautiful cathedral. I got lots of, so one of the things, because my sister has her fancy camera and she loves taking these photos, I love taking photos of my sister taking these photos, because it's part of my experience is seeing her do it. And I also get, the beauty of the environment as well. And here's at Santa Croce, they gave us a fold out of all the different tombs. I took pictures of my favorite tombs, and I believe we took pictures of multiple, but I put in Dante Alighieri and Michelangelo, because those were really important for me to see. And I put stickers next to them, the ones that I was super excited to see. So here we are wandering around more of Florence. I've got the Piazza LA, Michelangelo, little clips again from the map saying what these places are so I can remember where I was in the picture. Of course, us eating out, because that's part of the experience. Here is my sister would know more about what this pig is specifically. She was the one that took this picture and was excited to see it. We did not go up and rub its nose. There was a crowd, a line, and that wasn't, we just wanted to see it. But she took this picture, and I had this frame and it was perfectly fitted. So I stuck the frame to the picture, and then, no, actually I cut out the picture to be smaller, glued it in, and then I stuck the frame on the outside to help stick down the edges. And this just came from a kit I had. And so that's a fun way to use a sticker frame to help hold down the picture. And I think it really makes that picture pop more than maybe some of the others. I like having that kind of breakup in size and that frame, just again, giving it some interest. Because otherwise it can get, as you can see, I'm very cluttery with my stickers and all of that, the receipts. But that's how I like to look at it later. So the next day we went to the Galleria Uffizi, the Uffizi Gallery, and that was amazing. I took so many pictures, but I had to pick. That's another thing. When you have so many pictures, I printed out so many. I actually have a stack here. So later on, I'm going to make a scrapbook for my sister, actually, and probably share that on the channel. So I've got extra, but you end up printing so many because you don't know exactly what's going to work for your composition or what you're going to go with. And so I end up with extra, and that is an excessive amount, I'm not going to lie, but I will be using them a lot in a lot of collages and things, because we took so many photos and this was such a bucket list kind of trip. So I was super excited to see this painting. We loved the ceiling. I like getting different angles and us walking with our little coffees, just all the life experiences of it. Again, the tickets were beautiful. And then from there, we went to the Basilica of San Lorenzo. I didn't take too many pictures inside. I'm not sure why. We just sort of sat and experienced it. They had so many. This is a folding out map, actually. If I ever want to, I can take this page out and unfold it, because I just didn't see a reason to cut it up or anything like that. And then I've got the tickets were very large. This is one of the most compressed pages because I didn't want to dedicate a whole spread because I didn't have very many photos, but there was enough ephemera to use for a whole spread. So it's quite layered. I've got the receipt over here. It's one of my I do prefer having it where it's more cluttery because it makes your job really easy, to be honest, on how you're going to put things in. Sometimes when you don't have enough to spread out, then you have to get really creative with how you're going to fill in gaps, especially if the rest of the scrapbook is this busy. Here's the sticker that we got for this tour we went on to go into the Galleria dell'Accademia, and we saw the David. So I thought this was a beautiful picture of my sister waiting in line. So it included, of course, us waiting in line to get inside. It was quite a wait, but once we got inside, we took our photos, and I kept the sticker. This sticker did not peel out of the page that I had stuck it to in my pocketbook. So instead I tore out the whole page and then used some bric-a-brac scissors to cut around it. I kind of wish I hadn't because the sticker was so thick that it kind of didn't cut well with the bric-a-brac, but I did my best. Maybe something to test next time, or at least I'll know better. These are the pictures of our climbing the Duomo, which for me was the best thing that we ever did. This is a long time bucket item for me. I love the Duomo. I love the history of it. Yeah, I won't go too far into that, but I had so many photos. We're very glistening because we were there in August. It was about, I think, 97 degrees average every day of the trip. Very hot, in the Mediterranean heat is different than what I'm from where I'm at. So that's just part of the pictures. You know, you're never going to look perfect, and I'll always look back and be like, man, we were so sweaty. That was such a hard climb, but that's part of the memories. Here's the map. So I included that. That's the Florence map that I was mentioning earlier. It did come in here. It just, I didn't use as much of it on this stage. And here we are climbing the tower of the cathedral, both on the same day. I just want to point out it was a lot. I think the Duomo was 490 something steps. This was 398 steps. We did stop for gelato in between, so we did recover kind of. So then we moved on to Rome. I take pictures of us leaving and waiting for our train. And then they had given us a very helpful, the check-in counter was very helpful at our bed and breakfast. They gave us this map, and he included where we should go check out, which we're very busy people. So we checked out a good many of them on the first day. So when I glued this in, you'll see these little stickers. I originally was going to use the gold stickers to indicate our path, and then the gold icon location stickers to indicate what we saw, but we saw so many things and I couldn't exactly remember in what order, even though it'd only been about a couple months after our trip that I did this, that I started and I realized it just wasn't necessary. It was busy enough. It's a beautiful idea if I'd kept track better, but it was not going to happen. So that's an idea, something cute that I would like to do next time, but it did not work out, or at least I didn't. Maybe I'll go back. So here we are. Our first trip right out the gate, we went on a tour of the Colosseum and the Palatine Hill, and I mean, what more can you say? We saw that, got our little card here with our information, and I went. How often am I going to ever do another spread with the Colosseum? So I put so many stickers everywhere, and this was before I decided that I was going to make a book for my sister. So I probably should have conserved one, but hey, we'll cover that bridge when we get there later. And then we went to the Pantheon. I was super excited to see it because of what I do for my work. I find the Pantheon just amazing. Roman concrete is it's amazing. It's one of the wonders of the world. I know if you don't know, they've kind of solved that wonder. They've figured out how to do it or how it was done. Anyway, you could go look that up later. I won't keep you with that, but I was obviously very excited, and we make these faces very often in photos. In our older pictures, you'd probably notice. Of course, put the tickets back in, took a lot of pictures at the Lasso de Argentina, the cat sanctuary. My sister really wanted to see it, so we hiked over there and got pictures of as many cats as we could. Then later on, it took a long walk actually back, but we went to the Trevi Fountain, went out to eat, and had our gelato. And then I loved the doors. Everywhere we stayed, they had these big doors, I think so you can get in trucks. shipment trucks, but then you have these little tiny doors that you walk through. So I posed with one, so I knew there's a lot of times when I'm traveling when I know that I'm going to want a photo in my book. So that's an example of something where I'm like, you've got to take a photo. I'm going to put this in here. Next day, we went to the Sistine Chapel and the Vatican City, and we walked the whole way, which we walk a lot. Big walkers, because you miss so much when you drive or ride in a bus. So we walked and took lots of pictures along the way, got really tired before we even got there. And because of the way the museum is set up, I didn't get too many photos in there, so it didn't turn out to be that big of a spread, but I did make sure to take a picture of the Vatican City map, again, thinking I'd want that because I didn't get a map. And then we've got our tickets, always with the tickets. Now, at the Vatican, we went to the nuns there run a gift shop to raise funds. And so we got a lot of things there actually. And I kept all the little bags that they put things in. They put everything in different bags. Here's a really big one over here. So I put those in there, the bigger ones in the back and these up front. This one, the little one, is perfect for putting up front. This has a funny story. This charm, my sister bought this one on accident. She meant to get a different one, and then I went back through the line so I could get the one she wanted, and we traded. And then I was going to do something else with it, but I thought it would make really good sense to stick it in here in the spread. So it went in here after all. And that's just one of those things that I always remember when I look at it. And then here we are wandering around more of Rome, and it was super hot. So we got tickets to the Domus Aria, and that was the most refreshing part of the trip. They said it was cold, but it was very refreshing, cool. I think it's like 100%, 99% humidity or something, which is crazy, but it was so nice after the long walk. And it's a very quick moving tour. You're not allowed to fall behind. You're not allowed to go off on your own. So I took some really quick selfies because I take selfies with everything, if you haven't noticed. I want to show myself in those experiences as much as possible. And then we found a Irish pub. One of my favorite songs, actually, is wherever you go around the world, you'll find an Irish pub. So you got to eat at it, basically. And that was one of our best meals, I'm not going to lie. And then some little fun thing that I wanted to include is we were doing our laundry along the way in the hotel room. I know that's a radical thought, but I've done it 2 different trips. It saves a lot. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but you don't have to pack so much. And since we pack such small bags, which you might remember from the earlier, just one small bag, really helps cut down on things. And so after all of the long walking, we had a little bit of downtime after dinner, and we'd picked up some little things to try from the grocery store. So we made our little selves mixed drinks, and then we watched on our phone. This is Tasting History with Max Miller, one of my favorite YouTube shows. Big fan, Max Miller. And so we watched his video on Pompeii Pizza because we were going Pompeii next, so it made sense. So here we are. Our train left later in the day from Rome that day, so we had a little bit of time to wander, and so we went to the Crypt of the Capuchins. My sister's very into crypts, so we had to go there. I've got lots of tickets from there. And then on our way back, here's my sweaty pack. It's hilarious. So on our way back, of course, we grabbed a beautiful gelato, and then at the train station, I grabbed McDonald's. Not because I'm a huge McDonald's fan, but because the McDonald's in the train station in Rome, the second floor one, or the bottom floor one, has ruins. I didn't get a really good picture of that because there was just a lot of people, and I didn't want a crowd of people getting their picture in my scrapbook. But there's ruins down there, and we quickly got our order, and it doesn't hurt to have McDonald's when you're overseas, I'm not going to lie. A little taste of home kind of keeps you sane. So that was a funny thing that I'll always remember. And then, of course, we get to Naples, and it was so hot and sweaty that I had to recover. And again, I like to take these, or my sister was taking these photos for me, these candid photos about what the actual experience is like, because I'll always remember the tiny coffee cups. Because as an American I, that drinks so much coffee, it was something. It was something to have those tiny coffee cups. It was cracking me up all the time, and also just how hot it was. Um, so that's our little local grocery store around the corner. We went there a lot because We were very thirsty and it was the closest thing. We went out and ate. I was very excited about it. And the Airbnb, or it wasn't Airbnb, sorry, bed and breakfast we stayed at was just gorgeous. So my sister took a photo of that. And again, she takes those beautiful photos that are architectural, and I wanted to include it because I also thought it was stunning. And then here we are having snacks, drinks, of course, and then watching the local television channel. We don't speak Italian. She learned a lot. My sister's great at languages, but I don't speak Italian. But sometimes it's fun to watch the local channels and just sort of get a feel for it. Next morning, we were going to Pompeii, so we got our little coffee breakfast, and these are just the basic tickets. Again, these were printed out. They gave it to us. We had a tour company come get us. So they gave us these printed tickets. They're not very exciting because they're just printed, but they were small. So I used my Rick Rack stickers to make them a little bit more interesting and glued them in because, again, I like to keep them. And even if they aren't the most gorgeous tickets, they don't always are. So here is a piece of the Pompeii, I can't remember what it's called, where it completely folds out, but again, it has a map and information about it. And I expected to do more with it, so I ended cutting it up. But this is the front. It kind of serves as giving the title of the page that we're in Pompeii. And then my sister took this picture of me walking through an archway, which we took a lot of pictures of each other marching and walking. So I stuck it in there because I'm entering Pompeii. It really worked for me. And then here's my sister walking on one of the roads. I took many pictures of that. She's got pictures of me taking photos because I think, well, why not? I'm taking pictures of her taking photos nonstop. There's Mount Vesuvius, which earlier we had climbed. That was a great part of the trip, and we did it early because of how hot it was going to be. So when we got back to Naples, we decided to go out and explore a little bit. We walked all the way around the castle they have there. There was construction, or actually I think it was a festival going on below. So I took pictures of that side of the castle, but it was really blocked in the view. So we walked all the way around to try to get the view that we liked and take pictures with it because we had time and we love walking, obviously. And again, these fun little doors. I love taking pictures of the fun little doors. Our drink at the end of the night to toast a good day. It's funny enough, we got gelato here. And like I said, I wanted photos of every gelato we had. We got gelato here, but we forgot to get, because we were heading back to the hotel and it was everything was more spread out in Naples than we expected. We were eating gelato on the run basically, and so I didn't get a photo of the gelato, but I still threw that in there and I'll always remember we had gelato there. So the next day we took a trip down the coast, the Amalfi Coast, and I put these out of order of where we went because I really wanted a spread of the St. Andrew in Amalfi the most, and I had that many enough pages for it, so I wanted to put that here. And so this one, they gave us a handwritten ticket. I thought that was exciting. It was really large though, but I made sure to include the handwriting on there. And there's a lot of pictures. So here's the other side of one of the tickets. This is the fold out. I didn't cut it up. So if I wanted to, I could open it and read about the monumental complex, St. Andrew in Amalfi. And again, my sister was taking pictures of me walking at this stage of the trip a lot, and I really, she takes really good pictures. So I have mostly my back and less selfies on this spread, which is really kind of nice because most of the time it's me taking pictures of myself. And then here as we do, we took selfies at every place we went on the trip. So of the Amalfi Coast, so we got Sorrento, Positano, and Amalfi. Looking back and then looking out, I bought really fancy Italian sandals because that's, before I go on a trip, I make a list of things I want to buy. So one of the things was that I wanted to get nice, pretty sandals, dress sandals from the coast. So I got those on our trip and I put in the receipt and the card they gave me. They gave me so many things. I think this is also part of the receipt. So those all went in here so I can remember that's where I did that. And then our last night we found this nice place to eat out. It was an Asian fusion kind of restaurant. And then we finished our drinks and relaxed afterwards in the hotel room. So here we are. Last part of the trip is us flying away. So we were so tired. I didn't take a lot of pictures in the airport, but my husband did take pictures of me returning and giving my boys their cuddles when I came home because I was so excited to see them. I've got my receipts for the things I bought in the airport in Dublin. We were so hungry when we got there. I bought so much food, and I'll never forget. We bought all this food, and the lady in the checkout stand was like, "Girls, they will feed you." So we were absolutely stuffed. I have to say, Dublin Airlines, it's Aer Lingus is amazing. So that's us in Aer Lingus on the way. It was a very enjoyable flight, to be honest. And something to point out is I started the book with the black background page that comes with the page, and I took this blue glittery cardstock picture or paper, and I tore an edge, and it's on this side, and the complementary portion is on the back, so it kind of completes the page, completes the book, at least for me in my thought process. I thought that was a beautiful thing. So here, when I finished my book, I had a lot of things hanging out. I usually do. I'll have other books that I'll show you in other videos, and you'll see how I solved that problem. But here I took a cardstock paper and I cut a corner out of it, and then I glued, I think it was super glue, but I glued it in good and sturdy so that it will hold what I put back here. So this is the portions of the Pompeii map that I had earlier. I used a portion of it, and then I also salvaged all the pieces that told you what the different, so you'll see the other side of the map, what the different places were. That way I can go back and look at them, because I didn't get to put them in how I wanted, but I still have that information if I want to. Or when I work on my sister's book, I might take one or two out. For instance, we went to in a domus, so I might put a domus page in there. We'll see, but definitely keeping it for later use. And then here, every time I travel, I take a pocket notebook and I write down my notes of what we did. And this time, to save space and to see if I'd like it, I just took my phone and used notes. So on our first train, actually, let me go back here. I've got my phone out, and I was writing notes when my sister was taking pictures. She took quite a few pictures. This is actually the least flattering one, but I thought it was great because we were looking at each other. But she took pictures of me actually writing on it, and I was just using the Samsung Notes app. And then you can print those, which I couldn't figure out how to print them in a smaller, better looking way. So it printed very big, but this is the actual notes, and I like to use the stylus with the kind of quill pen tip, fountain pen look. And so I wrote that way. And I did it in all different colors, so when I looked at it, I could see easily what different days were. And I do that so that when I go back and do this, I have those notes. So all the notes that are written in here are written from those as reference, and they're not always the same. There's going to be information there that I wrote that day that I didn't want to include in the book, and there's going to be information in there or that's not in there, such as like how sweaty we got or something, and that I might want to write more about when I write the actual tag, because when I'm writing, here's the map of Pompeii that I used. But when I'm writing a story, basically, of journaling notes to go along with my scrapbook, that's something that I usually add is different things I remember that maybe didn't occur to me to write down when I wrote my pages or my notes, because when I'm writing my notes, my main goal is to write down what I did that day and just little, bullet points so that I could use them as reference later. So I kind of add more to it later when I write those tags. So yeah, that concludes my book. As you can see, super thick. The next ones that I shared, my older ones, will never be this long. They're much smaller books, but I do want to add more videos later on showing just kind of the evolution of the things I've done and the different techniques I've used, because like I said, I've had more formal with frames and cohesive color stories and those sorts of things. I've done more books like that. My current look is very casual, what I think is going to move into travel journaling really well, which is why I'm thinking of doing travel journaling. So let me know what you think. Have you been to Italy? Maybe you're still working on a scrapbook or looking to work on one. I'd love to hear about it. Thank you.